Oh, welcome to a very special, easy listening episode of the Pink Boys podcast. And
Yep.
there's a reason why it's easy listening. Why is
Only
that, you
only the
think?
strong survive, some would say.
we are like cockroaches in a way, or those bed bugs that survive the treatment and can get through the next one as well. So we are the saviors, or we're just the highest level thinkers. So it's really just it's a filtration system. So
Yep.
it,
Filtering out the bad comedy and the schizophrenic ramblings. So
yes, exactly. So we're relaxed and we're laser focused, and everything that we say is important. And it's like we're the Midas touch of speaking,
yeah.
really. Is
So
and
we're gonna
and
need you to turn your IQ up a notch for this episode. So.
yeah, pay close attention, very close attention. So before we get going a little bit, yeah, it's just me, Kid Moyer, and Tyson today. So power crew. Tyson, how are you doing?
I'm good. This week's been pretty Gucci,
Yeah.
and I just got a uh, let's just say something happened. That's good this week.
Okay,
Something good
something
happened.
happened. Well, as I said to one of my friends before, no matter if something really bad is going on in your life or really good, it's usually corrected, and that could be a good or a bad thing. So if you're doing really well, don't worry, it'll correct itself. But also, if you're doing poorly, that'll correct itself too. We tend to find a median in life as it goes forwards. But whatever you are talking about, which I know what it is, maybe.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Actually,
Good
that's
for
sort of
you.
like the saying, like you should look forward towards the worst day of your life because it can only go up from there, right? So
That's not that's not in tandem with what I was saying, but you can put that in your own shelf and work with it. So yeah, that's not a bad one either. So we're just evolving into a self-help, The Secret-esque type podcast. So just imagine something. If you imagine it enough, it'll come true, which actually in some cases,
look, guys, it's about PMA, positive mental attitude. Okay, so
So if you join my marketing course and get 3 other people to join that marketing course, then then we'll all be doing great. And yeah,
the
it's
funny thing about those get rich quick courses is that even though they scam people by telling them like fake info on how to get rich, in a sense, they are actually telling them how to get rich through the process of like they're showing them if you're dumb enough to buy this course, that is kind of the secret of how to get rich, you know?
well, not to get too meta contextual here, but it really is about convincing someone that a
Yeah.
product is going to be delivered, and it in most cases is not or isn't what you expect, and it's already too late. So you've
Some
already
would say
gotten the money out of them.
that's the secret behind the secret, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a friend where she was in a supermarket or something, and a girl came up to her and she was like, "You seem like someone that's really into fashion or this, that, and the other," and like gave her this long kind of 5 to 10 minute elevator pitch, and then tried to get her into a multi-level marketing thing. And I said, you know what? If she used that energy, the girl that approached her, on something other than MLM, she'd probably be very successful. People don't understand that we should just get like the background music that you see in those TikToks, right? 'Cause I feel like I'm talking on one of those kind of podcasts where it's like, I won't do the sound, but everyone knows what sound I'm talking about. But what I am saying is that most people at work or in office environments want work given to them like it's high school. Like here's your homework, here's your work, good job, and they just do that. 5 years, get promoted, 5 years, get promoted, etc. You can move forward a lot faster in life if you have that confrontational, unafraid attitude. It prints money if you're not frightened of doing it, but not a lot of people have that.
You know why that person that you talked about is so brazen and has that energy in the first place? Is because she believes that
Desperation.
no, it's because she believes that the thing that she's doing, it's like a shortcut around what everyone else is doing. She's like, I'm smarter than everyone else. I'm going to take this shortcut. Therefore, it's worth me expending this energy right now to take this shortcut.
That's a really good point.
She wouldn't expend that energy otherwise if it's just like, oh, I really do have to hit the gym for 5 days a week. Okay, well, I'm not doing that. So
Guess I'll just be bulimic or something.
Yeah.
It's so funny, the vacuum that's created by LinkedIn patroneurs. I guess that's a term that I'm making up right now that I'm sure exists. Just weird people on LinkedIn with nebulous job titles like account executive or entrepreneur or something that give these really long LinkedIn posts that don't amount to anything. And that it's an epidemic, really. It's an epidemic. And I feel like people are easily preyed on by that. And their pictures, obviously, with them in a button-up shirt with a watch that was probably at a wedding or something. So,
Dude,
it's all over the place.
I don't have a LinkedIn. And at this point, I feel like it's too late for me to start one. So,
It is.
Yeah.
So, but that's okay. That's okay. You're better off not on there, I'd say. You're better off not being on there. But you know what? We're kind of talking about it or hinting about it, or in this case, doing our best impression of it. All we're missing is an accent. There's someone that we talked about a few weeks ago, and I'll get your word on him first, and then I'll kind of give my thoughts. It's kind of died down, especially since he's gone to jail. But our good friend, Mr. Andrew Tater Tot, the Tate Master, he's been in prison for what, 60 days, 90 days now. It's actually been a little while. Supposedly in solitary confinement.
He's been in prison for over 200 days, and they can hold him for a maximum of. Oh wait, sorry, for over 100 days. And I think they can hold him for a maximum of 180 days before he's legally allowed to be released.
So his Twitter's also gotten increasingly more ridiculous. Like, you believe that you can't fly. And obviously, they're the infamous, would you rather bang Megan Fox with a dick or the Hulk with a vagina? Obviously, I pick the Megan Fox with a dick. Sorry. Yeah. I mean, as if anyone would have to guess that coming from me. But I won't put you on the spot with that, Tyson. But yeah, go.
I would go Megan Fox with a dick. Anyone that chooses Hulk Hogan with a pussy, I don't think you understand how fucking gay you're going to feel when you're Hulk Hogan with a pussy. Like, physically imagine that, and then imagine like just ramming the fucking Megan Fox's asshole with like a penis. So you just push it out of your mind. Like, it's not that hard. It's fucking Megan Fox,
I can remember a time where she certainly wasn't unattractive. She was very pretty, but she was typically more masculine than the average girl I'd hook up with. And yeah, it's a different kind of experience. But if she were ugly on top of that and hulkish and looked like the Incredible Hulk, there would be some unreconcilable issues, some would say, with that experience.
It's like some 5'1" guy, like, just getting fucking railed against the wall by Hulk Hogan with the pussy, and he's like, just goes to bed at night like, nope, still straight.
Yeah, at least I'm not gay. Yeah, it reminds me of this one guy. Just imagine your rattiest looking friend of a friend who wears a zip up sweatshirt and Adidas sweatpants and he's not particularly interesting. He's kind of just a filler person that's there at other events. We all know those kinds of people. Exactly. Something like that. And we were at a party one time and he was saying something like, yeah, I don't care if she's fat. Pussy's pussy, bro. And I'm like, that's where we're at here. And like, I'm not this dignified 16, 17-year-old, I mean, I obviously, we all had high sex drive at that age, but even then I was just like, no, it's not like that at all. I wish I felt that way. I'd probably get with a lot more girls, but I guess some of us have standards, you could say.
Well,
and I'm like,
this is coming from like a fucking a thick appreciator, but like there's a line between thick and fat. Like, it's a very defined line, and yeah, you shouldn't cross it ever.
I'll leave that up to the professionals like yourself. So yeah, but now looking back, take that video from Tate in context with what that NPC guy is saying. That makes him kind of gay a little bit, actually. When you say a hole's a hole, yeah, that's kind of gay. And I'm not casting aspersions. I'm just saying, it's like maybe that could be gay.
You're so desperate for pussy that you don't care what the woman looks like. Like, you don't care what a woman looks like? That sounds pretty gay, dude. I kind of care.
So we'll have to figure out a time travel mechanism so I can go back and get that one-liner. Just kidding. I'd have a lot of things that I would want to fix before that. But so just real quick, because we will talk about him seriously for a second. Well, as seriously as one could about him. But just I love that the last 10 seconds of that video. Funny. He's like, so what's it going to be? Megan Fox with a dick or Hulk Hogan with a pussy. The choice is yours, or something like this is like an alternate version of Neo from the like. You have to make this choice. Like your lineage depends on this choice. The way he words it, and I thought it was such a funny subject that he treats seriously in his video, and obviously. I think he's playing a character a lot of the time, but I thought it was hilarious. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen on the internet. I'm not gonna lie.
Dude, it's so funny seeing like the entire lifespan of Andrew Tate. How like when he first came on, like the quote unquote distant right hated him. Then they went to loving him. Then they flip flopped and went back to hating him. And I've been all in on this guy from the start. Like he's fucking hilarious. He says the right shit. What more do you fucking want, right?
Does he say the right shit? I don't know. That's up to you.
Fucking feminists are retarded. What more do you need?
Oof,
plus Bugattis, you know?
Plus Bugattis. Okay. Look, all I'll say is I remember, and I've said this before, when he had that, I guess when you put it in like a summary, the way I'm about to say it, it does sound really funny where he has a 10 tweet long maxing out the characters each time tweet thread about how you're a loser for watching Star Wars and how he's not a loser. yeah. And that was back when he was Way of Wudan, when he was Wudan. And that's how I knew from before. So when he kept getting, because there was this other guy, it was like Damien something. It just, he rolled around with a lot of these drop shipper Amazon types that have all disappeared conveniently around the time of Me Too and other Twitter waves, and he was the Way of Wudan, and he was just as much of a character. He didn't show his face as much. I guess that kind of came along with the Hustler University or something. So, but I just wanted to point out, and the reason that I'm bringing him up is. I'm going to be very careful with this. And I guess because the B squad isn't on here, I have the opportunity to be a little more nuanced. So there are terrorists that kill people, rape women, and decapitate men who go to Guantanamo Bay or other prisons, possibly under Western jurisdiction, and they are treated not well, but they are given the average treatment of a prisoner during their prosecution. Let's take that and put it in the context of people in America. Let's just say, your average guy lives in the suburbs, kills his wife. He's going to be in normal jail conditions under supervision, eating the proper meals each time, every day. This is someone who killed someone. This is someone who is under trial for killing someone. So I understand that. Let's pretend that everything Andrew Tate has done is true. Let's just say that, because I haven't looked into the case, so I'm not going to argue, oh, he didn't do it. I don't know if he did or not. I just saw a weird video where the girls are trying to leave, then they come back. Who knows? I don't want to put myself out there and say, oh, he didn't do it. I have no idea. But what I will say is, even with what he's being charged with and the conditions that he's put under, you can't call yourself a sympathetic, better person than him, yet still be supportive of the conditions that he's in when he hasn't had a chance to prove himself in front of the law. It's kind of like revealing the own inhumanity of the people who supposedly hate him, So even if everything he did was true and he, I would say, kept people at his weird Romanian castle when they didn't want to be there, he still would need a normal like process to go forward up into his court case.
Lawyer at the very least, right? Which he's not being allowed to, which is bizarre. And
it's just very strange. And people are saying, "Oh, well, the Romanian government just wants to make a example of him." And I think to myself, I'm like, "Well, that's not how the law is supposed to work, and that's not how us civilized human beings are supposed to work." So, if you put Andrew Tate and his charges off to the side, let's pretend his name is Tandrew 8 and he's a completely different person and he's being charged with sex trafficking. What would be happening to him would be, I think it would be a bit unsavory. I don't think that it makes sense. And all these people rooting for him, like, yeah, he deserves it. He deserves it. He deserves it. I'm thinking like, possibly if he did all that, but even if he did do that, what he's experienced right now, he still does not deserve until he gets sentenced at a court trial. It's weird. It's like people are rooting.
What? Go ahead. You know what? He hasn't even been fucking charged for a crime. Like that's where we're at now. Like,
really, is that
held in jail without being charged for something? Like, really? Like, can you have at least the fucking decency to like arrest the guy for something, as opposed to just like holding him indefinitely in a jail cell. Like
Well,
the absolute state, you know.
Well, us, the shining beacons, well, us, me particularly, or my peoples, the shining beacons of morals and ethics in the West are rooting on this Eastern commie bloc country for basically skirting around the rule of law and torturing someone before their trial is due. It's kind of like when Julian Assange was emaciated and dying before getting extradited to, I believe he's in America now or something, from that embassy, we were like, "Oh
He's
no,
dead.
that's terrible." Wait, he died?
Uh, I believe he's dead, but the official story
No,
is that
he's not dead. No, he's
Trust
not.
me, I really believe he's dead.
Oh, you think he's dead? Okay, yeah, it's a fair one. That's like Kim Jong Un, or every like 2 or 3 years, it's like actually he's dead. So, but
Yeah.
obviously he's not. Or they replaced him with a body double a long time ago until they're going to figure out how to put his kind of hot sister in place of him. So I'm excited to see that, actually. Like a hot, well, whatever,
Dude,
a passable.
the first
yeah.
female dictator. Holy fuck! What the?
You know what's going
Sign
to
me
be
up.
sick though? Yeah, sign me up. One ticket, one way to North Korea, please. But also, I think she's going to try and mesh that country with the broader. She's going to try and globalize the country after her brother dies. I think that was the purpose of her showing her face at the Olympics. She's kind of prepping herself for that. That'll be interesting to see. But I didn't mean to sidetrack. Do you have any commentary about the Tate stuff? It was just something that was sticking in my head.
It's just another Tate W and fucking Romania L. So that's how it is usually. Like, dude, half the Romanian government probably like murdered millions of people during the fucking Balkan Wars. So like, get off your high horse. Just let this guy have his Bugatti around. He deserves it. And you don't deserve anything because you're likely war criminal. So relax.
I actually never thought about it in the war criminal context. That is an interesting thing, because even if he were, again, let's just say he's completely guilty of everything they're going to charge him with, the conditions that he's in right now still make no sense. Even if he were to go to prison, these conditions still make no sense. So it's just it's strange, and I don't like seeing people rooted on, because if it weren't Andrew Tate, let's just say it was your Uncle Terry, and he did something for, illegal to procure an iPhone 6, and they put him in those conditions, you wouldn't be happy about it. So, but for some reason we get to be, because he's a bald and he looks like the Bat Boy that was on the New York Post that one time from probably before a lot of people were born, but I remember it. So yeah, it's just strange. It's strange. So yeah, we'll put him off to the side. More to come from everyone's favorite bald internet man, and no one's filled that vacuum yet. So that'll be interesting to see when the next manosphere poser comes out of nowhere to sell courses in masculinity to people by saying join Islam, but also have sex with a bunch of girls and
hopefully
not have
us.
children. Yeah, it's us. We're on our way. We're figuring it out.
Pink University, what the fuck?
See, this is the stuff that comes into our head when we're not distracted. When we're not distracted by someone going like, yeah, but maybe talking for 10 minutes about nothing.
Did you ever think that maybe the Anunnaki are behind like Andrew Tate or something?
Yeah. And we just have to sit there and take that seriously as he does it. So whatever, but enough openly airing our dirty laundry. So do you have anything that's on your mind? Because I have stuff that's on my mind, but I brought up Andrew, so you go ahead.
I researched, I came across this phobia called megalophobia, where it's people that are scared of like large objects and like large submerged objects. It doesn't have to be submerged. It could be like large buildings as well.
Yeah.
And I think I have like the inverse phobia of that.
You're scared of small objects? Like
No. I'm not scared of it, but I'm like,
I'm scared.
Really I swear. But it's like I really love like really large fucking objects. Like,
you love them. Okay.
Yeah. Dude, if like the Game of Thrones wall was like real, I would love that so fucking much. Like just a gigantic Titanic wall. Like,
really?
Dude, like there's not enough like big like things in the world. If you go to like New York City, which is supposedly the world capital, right? The buildings aren't even that fucking tall. I can see the sky. Like, really, you can't build the buildings like taller to make it like a few hundred stories. it's not big
So
enough.
this kind of we need to get you on the construction site. We need to get you on the planning board as an architect or something. But I actually, I have a few things to say about that. The one is, yes, I would love bigger mega cities. I would love entire cities to be contained in one building. Or I'll fill in I spot while he's not here. We used to have giant tree villages. You know, you ever see the where
Dude, that would be so sick. Shit.
Apparently the flat top canyons are petrified gigantic tree trunks, and there were nymph societies that lived in peace, coexisted peacefully. But you know, it's funny that you say that, because I do like what you're saying, and I kind of like what you're getting at. Why can't we have bigger things? But there's one time in my life where I did see something that was large, and it was in person, and the scope of it frightened me. Like, I got uncomfortable by the scope. So it was I went there for my 21st birthday and stayed there for 2 weeks. So I popped the fuck off. It was in Vegas. And we went and drove to the Hoover Dam. And when you can go off to the side and just kind of get out of your car and look at it, it was horrifying. Entire sections of it, the size of a whole building, that's just a small section off to the side where workers can walk around. And it was in combination with the fact that I could see forever because we were in the desert, and there was just this giant structure right in the middle of it, like this insurmountably large structure. And I'm sure there's skyscrapers larger than that. I don't really know the comparison, but for some reason, when I saw that specific, you know what it is? If there's no detail,
so fucking cool. Holy shit.
It is really cool, but I think it's the brutalism in the architecture that made me uncomfortable. So when you see a skyscraper, there's a bunch of windows, there's a logo, there's people in it, but just an ominous, brutalist structure with no defining features sitting there like a giant obelisk or something. That's kind of scary. Maybe there's like maybe it's like a callback to the Tower of Babylon or something. I don't know. It's just
I have a theory
strange.
about this, like, desire for like a large objects and stuff, like a theory on why it would work for the betterment of society. So I don't think you would argue against me that people these days are a lot more narcissistic than they used to be. And
Yes.
I feel like you could cure this narcissism if you make things larger. Like, how would you be narcissistic standing in front of like a 10,000 story building? You can't, because you're faced against your own fucking insignificance. You're like, oh, I really am just like a tiny ant against this fucking like kilometer story building. So I can't be narcissistic, right?
I don't know. I can't get on board with you here, because then you're veering into the nihilist route where people like to pretend we're just a rock in space that doesn't even mean anything, and we're completely insignificant.
Well, that's the extreme end, but
it's like defeatist.
No, that's the other extreme end. But maybe larger buildings could taper it towards the center where people aren't as narcissistic anymore.
I feel like they'll just take it in wow, look at the industrial aptitude of humans where you can make this giant structure. I don't know. I think it might be a humanist thing. See, with what you're saying is, and I don't think it'd be found in this, what used to humble us, obviously, and I'll say it, is that our faith in Christ, or our being Christian centric, or I'll be nice and just say religion centric. We used to humble ourselves through that because we knew that there was a higher, let's just say larger power that was governing over us that we were insignificant in. And anything that we ever accomplished through scientific means, it used to be metaphysics, and science used to be a lot more interesting than the methods we talked about that have been developed in the last few hundred years that we've spoke about recently. Or you brought them up on one of them eloquently of like 3 or 4 episodes ago. But we used to contribute man's accomplishments to our God, and we used to humble ourselves to them. We don't do that anymore. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking for something that'll humble us as humans. Maybe it is maybe you're onto something. I don't know, but I wish it were God, mine preferably. So.
Dude, a really cool image just popped in my head. You know how you were talking about the Hoover Dam and shit? Imagine if like the Hoover Dam, something that size, was like the gate of a city. How cool would that be?
Okay, so
like you had yes. there's a wall the size of the Hoover Dam around an entire city, and to go through, there's like the doors are like the size of the Hoover Dam essentially. So how cool would that be, right?
Yes, that would be cool. You're making me think about. There's one scene, I think it's in Fellowship of the Ring, where there's two giant statues the size of mountains holding their hand up, like
That's so sick.
across a river. It actually looked really cool. I'm trying to know. I can't remember what the river is called. I'm not a big Lord of the Rings buff, but I remember it from Fellowship of the Ring. And I was like, damn, it's really cool, but it's also a little scary. There's statues the size of a mountain, like holding up their hands or sitting there, bordering this little rivulet that the hobbits go through or something like that. So, but yeah, giant cities or giant megalopolises or however you say it. That's certainly something to go. I have a lot of dreams about things like that. I had a dream about whenever I have dreams that are very frightening to me, it has to do with scale. One of them was a giant skeleton head talking to me that was the size of a skyscraper. And I think I was in hell in that dream. So it was pretty frightening, but like it was a roller coaster that was going around it too. I was like, what is this? This is bizarre. And it was like laughing. It was like, and I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, this is so ridiculous. Actually, I was terrified at the time. So
dude, for the past like 2 weeks, I've been having the exact same fucked up dream where I get away with doing something really messed up, but then towards the end, people find out. Like, and like for some reason, like you guys are all in there, and then my friends in New Zealand, they're all here as well, and my family, like you guys all find out about some fucked up shit I'm doing, and you guys all come to the conclusion that I have to die. So you guys just like let me die, and I just die in my dreams, and I'm like, this is it, really?
Well, I hate to put on my therapist cap, but that is obviously guilt from being a rotten liar in real life. So,
oh, okay, yeah, sick. Just cool, just lie once about having dinner, and then have that placed against me.
Yeah, well, it's just dinner, but no, maybe you're guilty about something in real life. That must be it. I mean, that has to be it. I had
dude, you guys like fucking stabbed me in the back like fucking Caesar. It was surreal. I was like,
really?
You guys like all of you guys were like in a room, and I'm like surrounding me, and I'm like, what's up, guys?
At two, Ari. Oh my god, yeah, no, I mean. I don't know. It's really hard to talk about dreams because the things they symbolize are so on the nose and ham-fisted sometimes. It's either divinely inspired or your brain is trying to tell you something subconsciously. I have no idea. And I'm not wondering to figure it out, but I've had a few dreams over the years recurring where I'm in a large structure, in this case, nature related. I'll be in the ocean. And I'll be lost just in my body in the ocean with giant waves that I can't even see beyond. And I'm saying huge, like dark green to the point of black waves in a choppy water. And that obviously means that you're indecisive about something. You feel like you're in a rut. There's a lot of reasoning behind it, but it's a recurring dream, and I think it means something. But it involves large structures as well.
That is cute.
So it's interesting.
I love large. Dude, the large wave scene in Interstellar was one of my favorites.
See, that's terrifying to me. That is terrifying. So you like that. When I see that, I get really scared. It makes me super uncomfortable. So yeah, because I have dreams with waves that look exactly like that since before that movie came out. So yeah, That's interesting stuff. That's interesting stuff. So all right, we'll move on to that. I guess we are getting a little bit creative. So we'll do that corner. I don't know if we're going to go the full hour, but we're making good time here. But we'll get to our little entertainment corner where we can vent a few things. Sometimes Adam will have like some show that he's talking about, or he'll just say nothing at all about it, which is exciting too. But I'll just say real quick something that I've been exposed to that pisses me off. And people are already mad about it in the nerdrotic sphere. They just take the bait every time. I guess that's what's best for their profit model. There's a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie coming out, and they replaced this hot redhead chick with like a fat Velma looking girl. Ugh. And everyone's mad about it immediately. And I'm like, guys, like, you know what they're trying to do at this point. I don't even know why it's worth it getting mad about.
It's 2023. Like, let's put away the turtles for now. Like,
put away really, your toys.
Like, dudes be like 35 and still want to watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like, it's over, man. Just relax.
Actually, that's a really good point, because when I was younger, I watched a lot of SpongeBob. Well, I don't care what the fuck they do with SpongeBob now. I don't care if they replace him with like Hulk with a mustache and a vagina.
Yeah.
I don't care. That doesn't make it like, why is it even worth it to you get upset about this? And people are like, oh, it's my childhood, it's my this, my that. It's just like that stupid
You had your
show with those
childhood.
like,
You saw it
yes.
when you were a child, and then you still have those good memories. Just if they want to fuck it up now, just leave it, right? Like, what's the point?
Yeah, and it says a lot where it's not like you're sitting down and watching all the old ones. You don't care. You're an adult. But because they're making some new one and they changed a few things around, you have to care about it. It's like, really? So what I'm trying to get at is I think there's a sort of childhood TV show caste system. It says a lot about a kid or an adult if you can see what shows they watched when they were younger. So obviously watched a lot of Hey Arnold, watched a lot of SpongeBob. Doug was good. Rugrats was goated, but I think everyone liked to watch that. So there were a lot of shows that I cycled in and out of. I veered into the Cartoon Network. You know, you had Courage the Cowardly Dog, Dexter's Lab, Powerpuff Girls, and
Okay,
yeah.
Here's my cartoon portfolio, and let me see what you think
Yeah.
about. So I was SpongeBob, Courage the Cowardly Dog, and The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Oh, that's a good one at the end. So who did that? I think no, it was different people. I was going to say that show reminded me of Fairly Odd Parents, but Billy and Mandy stuck around a lot. That show kept going, and looking back, it aged really well. Like that show was pretty funny.
Had good aesthetics.
Yeah, good aesthetics, but also the dynamic between the characters was interesting. Like Billy was a complete idiot, and like this sardonic bitch, and the Grim Reaper had like a weird personality. I don't know. It was fun. So actually, that's pretty good. You're going in a good direction with that.
Dude,
so
talking about scary Kino, Courage the Cowardly Dog was so fucking scary sometimes when I was a kid.
Dude, I can't remember which one it is, but there was a Courage the Cowardly Dog that gave me nightmares for a while, and it had these weird choir people singing who die or turn into ghosts or something, and it was really haunting. It was haunting. It was so everyone knows the infamous like Return the Slab and Suffer My Curse Mummy
that was
episode.
The one that killed
and
me. Holy shit!
Really? Yeah.
Return the Slab.
Yeah, it's just it was good, and I kind of like how they captured Muriel, just always like happy-go-lucky and just the angry rural, who hated the dog, and I didn't get why he hated the dog. Then I got older, I was like, you know what? Some dogs are pretty fucking annoying, so I think they're going a good direction with that. But what my main point is that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, along with one other show, which I will name in a moment. Fucking terrible, just dumb show. Like I could tell,
right?
Dude, when I was in first grade and there was a kid that was into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I wasn't really friends with them because they were like, "Oh, it's so cool!" Like I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like I'm exploring wage gaps and integration and integrating into a big city when you're from. So there was like really interesting episodes of like an Eastern European man trying to fit in this new city in Hey Arnold. Like they explored really interesting things and concepts that were kind of beyond what an 8-year-old. But instead it was like, no, Donatello, he fits in it, and they live in the zoo. I'm like, what is this shit? Like this is so stupid. Like
not even compared to like Hey Arnold, but like what sane kid watches Ninja Turtles over SpongeBob? Like SpongeBob just mauls Ninja Turtles so much more.
I'd say SpongeBob came a little later. Teenage Mutant Ninja. There's a lot of people who I'd say were born in '85 who probably like Ninja Turtles, but there was better stuff, and I was born later than that, thank God. But time's running out. But it was like anytime it came up, it felt like it felt silly to the point of being insulting, even when I was 6 or 7 years old, and I felt insulted that my friends want to watch that. So we'll take it one step further. So that was bad. And I feel like maybe it was some sort of, it was a filter, basically. It was just like, okay, if they're into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, something's up with this kid. They're probably easily entertained. But the worst offender of them all is Power Rangers. You were a fucking idiot if you enjoyed that show. It was the equivalent of if you're an 8-year-old who liked watching Teletubbies when you were 8, and not a 2 or 3-year-old, that's what Power Rangers was. It was just like sight and sounds, like really exaggerated like movements, and probably like I imagine like my stupid fucking like 5-year-old friend sitting there slack like an idiot going like, then they all turn into this, and like the way the lady talks like, I got you, fam. Like this is insulting for me as a 5-year-old. And I'm not that smart. I'm kind of dumb. I just spelled jet the wrong way in the spelling thing. I tried to start it with a G. Like, I wasn't that bright, but like, what is that shit? Like, I watched it one time.
Yeah.
You know
what's the equivalent for my generation? It was fucking Ben 10. Do you know that show?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Like,
I know a lot of that
like,
stuff.
I was like 6 or 7 when that first came on, and then like even then I was like, really? Like, this guy like slaps his watch and he like transforms. Like, can I go back to SpongeBob or something?
Mom, pick me up. I need to go watch SpongeBob. Yeah. Well, again, there were also shows out of the time like Are You Afraid of the Dark and all these,
That was
like,
Kino.
yeah, I was terrified of it, but it was good because it was good. It was effective at what it was doing. So when you go from shows like Hang On, Are You Afraid of the Dark to Power Rangers, it's embarrassing. The intelligence gap is embarrassing, and it's wide. It's no, but you don't get it. Like, there's a white one and a black one and a green one and a pink. And I'm like, is this a color game?
You know the colors of the rainbow.
Yeah, you're playing a color game as an 8-year-old. You're thinking like a fucking 3-year-old right now. It's like bizarre that you're still entertained by this. And I remember I was out drinking with my dad one night. We were catching up about something, and I grew up in a pretty religious house where, my mom's favorite phrase was, "I don't want it on in my house," when it was something that was, a little bit too esoteric, we'll say, or occult. I love her to death, obviously, but my dad said, "Yeah, we were a little strict on you with that stuff, but Power Rangers, there was nothing really wrong with that show as far as being inappropriate. I just thought it was fucking stupid, and I didn't want you watching it." So thanks, Dad. I appreciate that. He knew what good taste was for his kid at the time. So yeah, because looking back, I was like, damn, that show was so stupid. And whenever I go over to my friend's house, he would always put it on. I'd be like, dude, it's Saturday morning at 9 and we're watching this shit. This is shit. Like, this is so bad. I came over to your house
for this, really?
Yeah. There's Legos right there. There's Legos right there that we can play with. But you want to watch, like, and the way the sparks came out behind them and the action was like, oh my gosh, it was so stupid. I've
never actually seen a single episode of the Power Rangers, so thank God.
Don't. Oh my gosh. It was, and then they like turn into a transformer and all that. I'm like, this is the equivalent of just like sights and sounds and sitting there like an idiot, be like,
wait, is the Power Rangers the one where the meme for they all like fly up and then become like the arms and legs and torso came from?
Yeah, yeah. Dude, and there's a show that did it even better called Captain Planet, where they join rings together and they do cool shit. Even that was better than Power Rangers. This is so, oh god, it's embarrassing. It was really embarrassing. And all my friends who are now grown up and the same age as me, I still look at them. I'm like, you like the Power Rangers? Like, I can't even have a conversation with you. I know you like the Power Rangers. Like, there's nothing we can talk about. There's a 7-year age gap of things that like mental age gap of things we're able to appreciate. So you're still thinking about things in your early 20s because you're a fucking Power Rangers idiot who like held yourself back 7 years with what you watched.
just you guys at the fucking nursing home, you're like 77. He's like, look at this fucking dumbass 70-year-old mind.
Yeah, he still thinks like a 70-year-old brainlet child, doesn't know everything I know at 77. So I don't know. It just got to me, and I love when things kind of cross it. Like, dude, it's like clockwork, and it was the same thing with Velma when I was talking about it. Thing comes out. Thing race swap someone, YouTube thumbnail video from the nerdrotic sphere. So they must know what they're doing. They must be self-aware to know what they're doing when they get mad at it.
Speaking of like getting to me, dude, I watched so some people came over to my house recently, and one of them suggested that we watch this British comedy series called The In-Betweeners. And this is like the first time in a while where I got this fucking angry at like a TV show. It's like the most soulless fucking shit comedy I've ever seen in my entire life. Like everyone is pessimistic. They're angry. It's cringe. It's like a soulless like nation of people.
What's it about?
A soulless nation of people. Like it's these like 17-year-olds who just like who all hate each other. Like viscerally hate each other, but they're still like friends somehow. And then they try to get girls, but then each of them like gets jealous and then like tears each other down like every single time. It's like really like there's some forms of British comedy that just like really it must be like an acquired taste, because I keep seeing people say, "Oh, The Inbetweeners is like one of the greatest comedies of all time," and I'm like, where do I start laughing? You know?
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with, obviously humor can be subjective in a lot of ways, but people for some reason can latch onto this like hopeless nihilist kind of comedy where nothing good really happens. And I guess does that make them feel better when they watch it, or is it a misery loves company kind of thing? Because
Dude,
I'm
I
kind
searched
of
up
really sick
online.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I searched up online, like, is it supposed to be gloomy and like full of cringe and like not even funny? And then like all the replies were like, but it's supposed to be cringe. That's why it's so good. And that's I don't understand that.
Well,
You know?
it's like I'm not enjoying that. So,
Yeah,
for instance, when you're talking about British comedy, when they lean fully in to British humor and it's done right, it hits the perfect pitch. So,
yeah.
for instance, the only one I've
The
ever really
pinnacle is
watched,
Mr.
yeah,
Bean.
uh, no, well, maybe I haven't watched enough of him, only a little bit when I was in London, but Peep Show is hilarious and it leans into British tropes so hard. It's one of the few comedies I've ever watched that I've completely loved, and you could tell it's just like very dry British kind of London or whatever, going to the pub type humor, but it's nailed so perfectly and it's a little bit smart. It doesn't get off on being dreary. It gets off on, putting the characters in interesting situations and seeing how they grow and seeing how they deal with it and contrasting what's going on between the two of them living very different lives. And it's really good and it's really fun and it's just an enjoyable show. And it didn't need to lean on being hopeless, and people being
Yep.
mean to each other all the time. So it's frustrating. It is frustrating, and that's why. And this is the reckoning that I see coming, and I hate it because it's leaked into my daily interactions with people in real life. It's called Always Sunny syndrome, where it's just everyone thinks it's funny, where you're just a shithead to someone and a bad person, and you're unfeeling about things, and it's kind of like torn. It's kind of torn the empathy out of life and interactions between people because they're exposed to shit like In-Betweeners and Always Sunny and think that it's an interesting way to they think it's the right way to live because you're protecting yourself from accountability and feeling anything. And that bothers me. And maybe I'm looking into it a little too deeply, but hey, we're the smart guys, so we can go a little deep on this one while some other people aren't here. So
Yeah, yeah.
so yeah. British comedies.
I will always love Mr. Bean though. Like that is the absolute like the top of the mountain for British comedy. That should be like talk about like return to tradition. That should be like the return to tradition for British comedy.
Well, that's again, it's not leaning on being hopeless and being a bad person. It's leaning on, I don't know, prop comedy and strange situations. And
Dude, I would love to be friends with Mr. Bean. I would never want to be friends with any of the guys from In-Betweeners or Ricky Gervais or whatever.
I always wonder, you don't hear a lot about the person himself, Mr. Bean, considering he is literally second to the Queen of England. Like it literally is the Queen of England and then Mr. Bean and then maybe Paul McCartney as far as English figures go. But he seems to not say a lot or do a lot. So I guess he's just a reserved person or something. Like he's never been in the news or anything really.
Dude, he made his money and now he's chilling. He's like living his life with his family. And like a respectable person, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, maybe we should try and find a way. Again, I even see a commercial on it when I'm watching dumb DC new universe stuff on HBO Max, where it's like some advertisement for stand-up, and it's called, Dark Thoughts, and it's just a guy getting up on stage saying like just really gloomy things and be like, we're all gonna die soon, so what's it, man? I'm like, who's sitting here like laughing? Like this isn't even dark humor. Like dark humor is like people usually can't handle that. It's usually like 9/11 was funny because your dad died or something, you know what I mean? It's like that takes a little bit more of an edge than well we're all gonna die soon, and like all right, like cool, great, this is so funny. That's why people who pay for comedy are fucking idiots. They're just unfunny people who need to watch someone on stage be funny for them. But I've said this a million times, but I'll keep saying I don't care. I got a microphone in front of me. As long as there's a microphone in front of me, I'm going to say it. So, oh my goodness. Yeah, I thought when you said the In-Betweeners, that was that other British show where like there's a black guy with like kind of an afro and they all work in IT. Do you know which one that is?
No, they're all pastoids in the one I'm referring to.
So that's white people for those of you wondering. So Oh my gosh. So yeah, so did you watch the original Office with Ricky Gervais or
Yeah, it wasn't that funny. It was. I mean, like it was passable, I guess, but it was okay. It wasn't like standout or like the 10 out of 10 that people say it is. But then again, I don't find the American Office funny as well. So that there's that.
yeah, because I tried to watch like the first season of it when I was on my little peep show binge. This was about 10 years ago, and I was like, and this is when the American The Office was already in full swing, which is the superior Office when all is said and done. And I watched it and I just thought, this is really boring. But I guess this was funny 15 years ago or something. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do with that, but here we are. So
I
yeah,
think I have
yeah.
like a deep seated hate for The Office because like one of my ex like friends from high school used to show it to me so fucking much, but the way he would show it to me would be like the most retarded thing. He was like, dude, it's like it's so funny. Like he tries to photocopy something, but like it doesn't work, so he like does something else to photocopy, and I'm like, okay. Like,
See, that's how unfunny people talk. They can only barely describe what's on a show, and then just like, you just gotta watch it. You just gotta watch it. Yeah, you're such a shallow, thoughtless person that you can barely describe something else that's kind of funny. You have the full assistance of the funny thing, and you can't even fucking get it out of your mouth. That's why I hate people that want to show you a funny YouTube video. It's like, you need assistance. You need a fucking like prop next to you doing the entire joke because you're so fucking boring. Why am I talking to you? Sorry. Me and comedy, I have a very strained relationship with it. So
we gotta get you up on stand up stage when I come to America. I would love to see that shit. Dude.
I've had a few people say that to me before. Like whenever we're in a group, they're like, "Oh, which one of us to do stand up?" Be like, "Oh, Adam probably." I'm like, I hate stand up comedy, and they're like, I guess that's kind of the point, really. You'd probably be a stand up comedian that hates stand up comedy. So,
dude, if you go up on stage and tell people like why stand up comedy is shit, that would be a good like initial routine. To be honest,
well, after seeing my friend bomb an open mic, the things that people were laughing at, that probably would actually be in the higher end of funny things that could go on there.
Yeah, dude, it's always so funny how like Rogan and like other comedians, they'll be like, yeah, man, you just gotta go hit the road and just grind and just craft that perfect hour, man. And then, like it's so funny when people go on Joe Rogan Experience and they're like obviously sucking up to Joe so hard, and then they're like, Joe, I saw you last night at the Comedy Store. You were murdering it, dude. They're just like sucking him off so fucking hard. When if you've seen Joe Rogan's comedy, you know that he doesn't kill at all. Like he's not funny. Like
I have seen a few. I'd never been fully exposed to it, but when I've looked up a few of his clips because people say how painful they are, and I watch some and I'm like, yeah, this is just oh man. Hey, I don't hate Joe Rogan. He's a really hard person to hate because he's kind of just a template or a vessel for other people to express their views, and he gives them the chance to do that. So I can't hate him, but his stand-up, I don't even know. So, oh my goodness!
Have to go back to crafting that perfect hour and just murdering that audience, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just before we move on to something else, I just wanted to say real quick, when you want to talk about a show where it's a bunch of young guys, they're all kind of shitheads to each other, but at their core, they do like each other as friends, and it's just all in good fun. There's a show on Comedy Central called Workaholics, and the first 2 to 3 seasons were really, really funny. And I think a lot of guys got their start from that show. So if anyone's interested in a funny show, the first 2 seasons, maybe 3 of that are really good. And it didn't drag itself all for 10 seasons to milk money like Always Sunny has. Just embarrassing. That show hasn't been good since season 2, maybe 3 ended as well. So comedies basically have a lifespan of 3 years before they start getting redundant. But
what gives me the same vibe as the thing you described, like people being shitheads to each other, but they still like each other at the core. It's those recent like AI voice Trump, Obama, and Biden videos I've been watching on YouTube. Dude, that stuff is actually so fucking wholesome. It's a keynote dynamic, dude. Like I would love to watch a sitcom of those 3. Because you could tell that like Trump's like riffing on Biden, and then like Obama's like the playing like the straight man, and then like you can tell, like,
Yeah, in more
even with
ways
the
than
AI
one.
voice, yeah, yeah, they actually like each other at their core. It's a comfy show, you know.
You're excited about the dynamic of imaginary AF. Whatever. I won't stop you. I won't stop you. But I saw a few of those videos. I'm like, this is funny. Then they just kept coming, and all your friend group that catches the funny online thing 3 weeks after. Since we're terminally online, we've already seen it 20 times over. But your normal friend is like, so how about that crypto? Or, do you see these funny
Yeah.
AI Trump things? And I'm like, oh
I
man, like,
heard Bitcoin was going down.
yeah, I envy those people's lives because that they're blissfully in the real world, and I'll forever hold malice to it. I'll be jealous of that, envious of that for sure. So, all right, so I brought up Tater Tot, you brought up Megalopolis's, I brought up Mutant Ninja Turtles. So you got another one. Go, you take round 4. What's on your mind for the last thing we got here?
Dude, I think cigarettes are fucking back. Yeah, dude. There's. I feel like there's a
Oh,
resurgence in the aesthetics of smoking. I think it's finally back, lads.
really? So what makes you
Yeah,
think that? What makes you think that?
I've just seen like a greater appreciation recently of the aesthetics of smoking a cigarette. It it looks fucking cool. It feels good,
It feels cool.
and
It does feel
yeah,
cool.
dude. Like honestly, like one cigarette a week, it's not gonna do shit. All right, like it's
Mm-mm.
fine. Yeah. So
So yeah, go
this is
ahead.
something we should return to tradition for.
Well, I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but I know Tucker, as in Tucker Carlson on Fox, recently had a segment of why tobacco, or I don't think he said nicotine, I think it was tobacco, is actually good for you. And FDA and
Babes,
health
what
company
the
are saying why
fuck?
it's actually bad. So maybe in a sense of a pipe or cigars, yet maybe, we've been lied to about how dangerous that really is for your lungs. But I still think cigarettes are pretty bad. But I'll rewind a bit. What do you, so I used to be a Camel Crush connoisseur. I was just Camel Crush gang. Smoke it halfway, then pop it, turn it into a menthol, smoke it the rest of the
Based. Oh
way.
shit.
Then I moved on to these things called Southern Cuts that are actually really good. But then I dated a girl who smoked Parliaments, and now I quit smoking. I didn't quit per se, but let's just say every 6 months I might have one cigarette when I'm out drinking, and I don't go out drinking that often. So maybe I have 2 or 3 cigarettes a year, really, is the way it goes now. But
Mm.
through college, just a chain smoker.
Based.
And then I
So
stopped
based.
right out of college. And the problem is that when you get older, it becomes a lot harder to keep doing it. That's why I'm like blown away. It's like, dude, there's like 50-year-old guys who wake up in the morning and smoke a cigarette. I'm like, dude, if I woke up and smoked a cigarette right now, I'd feel like shit for the rest of the day. That's mainly why I don't smoke them, because I need to be able to work out. I need to be able to be
Mm.
functional. But if I'm chain smoking, I can't do that, and I smell
Maybe
weird.
maybe my insight as a vape enjoyer will help provide some insight. But dude, if you're if you're on the vape, that first fucking vape of the day, it feels so good. It feels unlike anything else. Like the buzz really, it do be hitting different though.
It's weird though. Like,
So I imagine smoking a cigarette first thing in the morning, it does feel like really good.
I I I'm not trying to get overly personal, but when my mom, let's say I hadn't bought a pack of cigarettes in years, maybe 4 or 5 years, maybe. And then when my mom passed away, I bought a pack and I just smoked maybe one a night just to kind of keep my mind right. And I would look forward to that every day when I would just kind of go out on the balcony and just smoke one, because it feels like you're forcing the world to stop around you for a second. And
Yeah.
you're just kind of at this weird piece where you see the world passing by, but you're kind of standing still and you can kind of get your thoughts in order, and you think a little differently. Sometimes I think worse thoughts. Sometimes I think better thoughts. I don't know. It's a weird mechanism. It's interesting. And
That's a
I'll never talk
really
shit about them.
That's a really eloquent way of putting it. Like, I kind of did something similar when I was working in Vietnam for a few months in 2019. And for those of you who don't know, like in Asia, the work hours are like retarded. Like you'll go into to the office at like 9 a.m. and you'll come back at like 11 p.m. So I'd go into the office and I'd come back to my apartment at like 11 p.m. and I'd go out on the balcony. I'd be really tired and I'd just sit on the chair on the balcony and smoke like 1 or 2 cigarettes, and that was like the most relaxing time of the day. Like just, and especially if it was raining, which it often does in Vietnam, like watching rain fall on the balcony and being illuminated by the city lights and just smoking that cigarette. It was a level of comfiness I haven't experienced since then.
You wouldn't feel terrible afterwards? Because I would feel bad every
No,
time.
no, it was
That's why I
it
couldn't
was
smoke more than
relaxing.
one. Yeah, yeah. I guess when you smoke them straight up, it might be a little bit better because if I have 2 or 3 drinks, it's a special occasion, and someone I know that's with me is having them, then I'll be like, yeah, why not? I'll have one. As long as they're not Newports or these obnoxious menthols. But
Yeah, yeah.
you feel the next day. I mean, but I smoke cigars. I mean, I definitely smoke cigars, and I hate the annoying like, cigars and whiskey and like stop. Like you can enjoy things without telling people about it. It's cigar, whiskey, and gun. Like I hate the right so fucking much. It like pisses me off. You're allowed. They talk about virtue signaling all the time. Like, oh, these leftist virtue signalers. What the fuck do you think you're doing when you're posting your fucking guns and your cigars on Twitter? You fucking loser. But whatever. It just. I'm not trying to get too worked up about that. I already did.
You really can't like smoke a cigar without virtue signaling to the manosphere about how masculine you are. Like, really?
Yeah, I like these ones. They're these Java cigars. They're called Topics. They're really, really good. There's like these like coffee infused cigars. But yeah. So my thing is, I wish that I could smoke more cigarettes. I enjoy them, but my body just isn't a fan of them these days. And I guess that's what happens when you get older.
Well, my routine after I smoked those cigarettes on the balcony I would immediately take a shower and then brush my teeth and go to sleep. So that could be why.
Yeah.
That
They
could
stop
be
you from
why.
eating too, from overeating.
Oh, trust me, they didn't stop me.
Well, nothing can stop the immovable man, the human garbage disposal. Well, you went on that vacation semi recently where you were like away for a month, and weren't you like smoking cigs at 7 a.m. or
Dude, I
something?
was I wake up at 7 and like chain it till like fucking 3 a.m. or some shit.
Dude, actually, you know what's crazy is I have a very good friend who actually listens to this podcast, and I visited him when I was in London, and he hand rolled these cigarettes. I could have smoked 20 of these things, and I still would have felt fine the next day. So I don't.
Dude,
There's a
yeah.
difference between the hand rolled and not, because he would roll them up, and then we would go out, and we would just like go out to the pub and do whatever, and then I'd smoke like 3 or 4 of them without even realizing it, and I'd feel perfectly fine the next day. If I did that in America, I would die for 3 days or something.
Pre-rolls are so much more harsh. It's actually unreal compared to like hand rolled. Like I in New Zealand, if you pay like $60, you get like a bag of tobacco and like hand roll your own. That shit was so comfy. Like there was no kickback to the throat at all. It was really good.
Real? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, the kick. Yeah, exactly. And I never felt. You get a weird head rush when you smoke cigarettes that kind of throws you off. At least I do, and like makes me weirdly depressed. That didn't happen when I had my cigarettes that my friend was rolling. So thank you, by the way, for doing that, friend. Hopefully you're listening. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's an interesting subject, and that's before we even get to the aesthetic of them. I know I look sick when I mean, come on.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Yeah, come on, bro. And when a girl does it, I'm sorry, it's kind of hot. Like, whatever.
Dude, I fucking know, right? Like someone like a girl with black hair, like just smoking a cigarette, like, dude.
You got a little, yeah.
Also, I have a theory about cigarettes. I feel like they have a 25-year cycle because I feel like they were popping the fuck off in like the late 90s. Like everyone was smoking them, and then they went into a bear market, quote unquote, for like 20 years, and now they're resurging. So maybe there is a 25-year cycle for cigarette popularity. You know?
It's possible. You could just be getting a little anecdotal, but I don't know. I don't know, because they definitely have been out the last 10 years. And I think that they might be creeping back in, especially as some sort of cultural scene. But I can remember there's some people don't realize the lives they live in, like, I don't know, how picturesque they might be, or like, you know, just maybe how different they are. I remember there's one girl I knew who was a manager for some like stupid bar downtown, and we went out, like I went to visit one time, and we just had a few drinks, and then we went to have a cig in this side alley next to the restaurant, and like it just felt it felt very peaceful. It kind of almost felt like you were in a movie too, you know, like people who work in,
Yeah.
let's say, you know, that stupid show called like, I don't know if it's stupid. It actually looks pretty good. The show where like the guy's a cook. It's like a show about like a cook in like New York City or something like that. But they've nailed that whole like grimy lifestyle, chain smoking cigarettes kind of thing. And kind of like looking back, it reminds me of when like, yeah, I was just like in a side alley, just smoking cigarettes. And you can just talk about like, no matter where you are in life, like let's say I was working some kind of job and obviously she's in restauranting, which I've never done in my life, but you feel like you like connect for a second there, just kind of
Yeah.
talking about
It's
life
such a
and things
great
like
fucking
that.
conversation starter. Like,
Yeah.
if you bum a cig off someone, like that's like 30 minutes of like good convo right there, you know?
Yeah. Well, there was one guy who would make our friend Ari's schizophrenia look like a walk in the park that I met who I got a cigarette from, and I had to listen to him slowly tell me how Donald Trump didn't actually, or Elvis didn't actually die. He was taken away and came back as Donald Trump to become president because they called him the king. What does the king mean? It means the president. So the king of rock became the king of the country. And he went off on this thing. And the funny thing is, he started out really normal, just asking about where I grew up. So I'm like, oh, this guy's kind of normal. And then it just, he was like Ari, take notes if you're listening. He was a schizophrenic guy who paced himself a little bit and like worked up to a crescendo of just the most ridiculous shit you've ever heard in your life. So looking back, that random guy, and I just walked away. I was like, I hope you find Christ today or something, because that was the only hope he had. He was addicted to weed too, so, and he was like, yeah, but it helps me like calm down. I'm like, so you're a schizophrenic maniac who smokes weed all the time, but the weed you think is helping you? I think it might be getting you to where you are right now, but whatever.
It's like,
That's a different.
I walk everywhere around the city, but it still smells like shit. It must be the whole city that smells like shit, not like me.
Not my shoe.
Surely
or like
can't be it can't be me that's the problem.
No, never. Surely can't be weed that's the problem when you're a schizophrenic maniac. But all right, I think we kept it pretty buttoned up. So I think we're good to go here. That was the fastest hour of my life. I was like, it's just you and I. So
Ep.
yeah. You want me to seriously respond after you say that? You know, dude. I remember one time I was texting, dude. There was this girl I dated when I was 14, and I ran into her 10 years later when I was like at a bookstore or something. And then I ended up like seeing her on New Year's and we hooked up or something. And I was like, wow, it was like kind of, it was like a weird throwback, you know, from like an earlier relationship. It was like recapturing it. But I was texting her with her one time and I said ridic, like short for ridiculous. And she started cracking up, making fun of me. She's like, you talk like a preteen girl. Like, that's ridiculous. So, like, when you say that's a comfy F, and I was like, damn, she just fucking wrecked me. Like, what the hell? But whatever. I'll still say ridic. I don't care instead of ridiculous. What can you do? It's more fun
When
to type
someone
that
says
out.
that to you just double down on that. Seriously.
Oh, yeah. I'll own it. I'll own it any day of the week. Absolutely. All right. Well, it was, hey, meeting of the minds. We're like, it's the, in The Watchmen, the main bad guy, I forget what he's called. He's like the really smart guy. Hold on, now it's gonna bother me.
The comedian.
No.
The real genius behind Ozymandias, right?
Yes, there we go. I was gonna say Ozymandias, but I think you might be right because I pronounce things weirdly sometimes. But that's us right now. We're just two of them. So that's what. No, and then the other two guys are the shit watchmen who we, you know, like Ari and Adam are some shit like B tier watchmen that we just wreck anyway. So.
Ari's the girl that gets raped.
I shouldn't be. Obviously, I'm not laughing at the rape part, but that is very true to life. I think if we were to capture those characters,
parallel traumas, you know.
Yeah, I think part of me would think I'm the Rorschach, but I'm definitely not. So it's whatever. I'll get past all of it. But good movie, aged really well. Didn't do well at the time, but you know, different world now. But all right, Tyson, you got any last words?
Yeah. If you guys liked what we're doing, don't forget to follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, or subscribe on YouTube. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.